Okay, thanks for your patience while we work out some technical difficulties. We're learning as we go. And Gordo, please continue what you were saying before we got cut off.
Oh, it's just honestly, it just what it comes down to is that the reason why I made that joke earlier about like I just kind of feel like what I have to say about it, or my feelings about all this stuff are kind of immaterial in the grand scheme of things, but I just feel like it is important to speak up and say that you're in support of black people not getting murdered in this country by
I mean, it
cops,
seems like a no-brainer, right?
It's a very easy, simple thing. I don't know why it's such a divisive issue. I don't like, and as far as the protests go, people are doing what they feel they need to do to get the attention to this problem that has been going on for decades and decades and decades and decades.
Centuries.
So, like, it's just like, in essence, I feel like, it's horrifying and it's unbelievable, but also I feel like as white people we got to learn when to shut the fuck up and listen to people of color, and we got to listen to the black voices in our communities about their day-to-day reality. What are they experiencing here in Denver?
Right.
Because it's their experiences are what matters here. These people are being marginalized every single fucking day. So
we have no idea from any.
Only go so far,
We have no idea from anything other than a spectator's perspective. Even if you are an ally, even if you support the Black Lives Matter movement, I mean, hopefully you do. I don't see any logical reason why you wouldn't, but like, we only know what we hear and see and read about. We don't have any more experiential knowledge than we know about what it is like to be, what it's like to be a bat, or from someone from another planet. We just don't know what it's like, because we haven't grown up that way, and we haven't lived in the black person's skin.
Exactly.
And all I can say is that I have just been the saddest and angriest and sickest for mankind that I ever remember being. And I'm of course very heartbroken over what I saw in that video. I'm heartbroken for the family and loved ones of George Floyd and the innumerable other people who have experienced the same racially motivated violence. I'm angry about it. I'm also sick and sad and angry about the people who are co-opting the protest to go and fuck shit up.
Agreed.
I'm sick, sad, and angry about the way the city of Denver is handling it and the Denver police are handling it. I am sick, sad, and angry about the sweeping generalizations that people are making about. I mean, I've tried to avoid getting into arguments with people. In fact, I've tried to avoid really putting any content out for the last few days because I don't want to crowd the conversation, And I got sucked into one today, where this guy was asserting that Black Lives Matter was a racist terrorist organization. Now, fortunately, because I got in there and I argued with him, he recanted his position and apologized. So, I mean, it served a purpose, but I'm trying not to crowd the space with the more anger and vitriol that is not mine to have. But I am sick,
I think
and
that's what it comes down to is like having those conversations one-on-one, with with other white people about that exact thing.
Or even with black people, but I reached out to Alan individually, it wasn't something where I engaged with him in an open platform to create a like group conversation out of it. It's like, I'm going to reach out to some of the folks that I know. I'm going to reach out and have conversations with people and pledge my support for people where it's not, it's not making it about myself, and it's not making it about creating viral content online. And there are people who are getting involved in this thing where they're co-opting the protest, they're co-opting the movement to further their own agendas, and there's some people that they just want to go watch shit burn or burn shit themselves. And
seen as an opportunity to get more likes or friends, whatever,
Yeah, that's
not
out
really
there
spreading
too.
out there, I'm seeing that.
People with their tear gas selfies, man. It's like there's got to be a line somewhere between, sharing for visibility and sharing for, God, what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, they call it virtue signaling.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, it's important to share things, but yeah, that's what I've struggled with too, because it's just like I feel just terrible and not sure how to, entirely what I can do or how to express this. Or you said it's not really necessarily my outrage, but it's like, do I want to share something then and my thought, then we find myself checking it again, just like, ooh, who liked that? And is that
right.
for me, or is that because I want to get the word out? But then I know so many people also are doing things to get the word out, and they're down there protesting, some of them risking their lives. And I don't know, all part of that is, I guess social media has done a lot of good you can't say it's done some good during this spreading the word, but yeah, just be careful, be responsible with it, just like anything else.
Well, and
it can lead to some pretty bad stuff.
Well, and it's something that we just this is another thing too, is the people who are decrying because there is a there is a distinction between the rioting and the protesting. There is a distinction between the looting and the peaceful protest element. But the people who are decrying it and going, what's that going to do? And what's that going to help? It's like, well, what you have to understand is that this is a symptom of this overall structural problem. Like it is part and parcel to the whole thing. Like any time that you have a majorly captivating, globally agitating and upsetting thing like that draws people to protest, it is also going to attract bad actors, no matter what. From both sides, there are going to be extremists and anarchists who want to come in and just watch the world burn and fuck shit up and fight cops. And then there are going to be bad cops who want to get in some target practice. And then there's going to be people there with their cameras and just broadcasting it to the world. And that's another thing that I'm very sick and sad and angry about is, I'll admit to being a bit of a Pollyanna, but, I grew up really believing what I was taught about post-racial America. You know what I mean?
Unfortunately, I did the same thing. I mean, I think it's more, we hear the term woke a lot these days.
Right.
I think big part of that means waking up to things. Maybe you felt one way a while ago, but now you're seeing things in a different light. You're seeing it for how it really is. And you're like, oh, that wasn't true. I know it's hard not to feel naive, but I mean, that's also part of being an intelligent person, part of what we're trying to do. We're trying to change opinions.
Right.
That's a good thing. And it's just like, I agree with you, given like my background as a kid, when we were all coming up, the internet wasn't quite what it was. So this stuff was going on. At least I'm not sure where you guys are growing up, but I never saw it. I just wasn't aware of it. I just knew what I was told. But then as I got in the world a little more, started meeting more people, then as social media exploded, and unfortunately things in recent years, and we started seeing this, I'm like, wow, we were not given the whole story.
Right. Well, and included in that Pollyannish perspective is my dad's a cop.
That's right. I know you told that.
And I love my dad very much. And as far as I'm concerned, my father's a hero. He's thrice decorated, Medal of Honor, Medal of Valor, Distinguished Service Cross. He's helped save people from wrongdoers and bad actors. He's thwarted bank robberies. He's gone into he ran into a burning building once because he thought he heard people and went in to save him. And as a cop, he's supposed to be a first responder. And he ran in and it turned in nobody was home during a fire and they left their TV on. You know what I mean? And he was awarded for that,
Wow.
And
was he a Denver cop? Was he in Denver?
Yeah, he's retired now, but he was in Denver from 79 to whenever he retired a few years ago. Before that, he was a Clear Creek County jailer, and before that, he was military police in the Air Force.
Wow.
And, I don't agree with many of the things that some of my dad's opinions on certain things, but I love him. And he's not a monster, He's the biggest kid when it comes to Christmas and the most excited about it, and he cried the hardest out of any of us when my brother died.
I've seen him at your merch table, man. That guy knows what he's doing. That guy's not messing around.
He's a beautiful human being, and he is horrified.
Fantastic merch dad.
Yeah, he's the best merch dad there is, and he's horrified, absolutely horrified by the video that he saw. I went and had a picnic with he and my mom and my son and my wife, and I'm talking to him about this stuff, and he's just like, he was just horrified by just how vivid and undeniable and clear, broad daylight these people who are supposed to be sworn protectors, these people, like my dad became a cop to get bad guys.
Yeah. How does he feel about police training? Have you talked to him about that?
I haven't really talked to him. I haven't really talked to him about that, except for, when my dad was with the department, he regularly had to do in-service training stuff. But I mean, the words out of his mouth was like, those fucking clowns are going to go to prison. He's like, and they deserve to go to prison.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
that's what needs to happen.
Like likely, I would really, really hope the hell so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see, at this point, I don't think the Department of Justice or whoever is, is the state of Minneapolis going to be trying them? Like, who's going to be trying, whoever's going to be trying them, because I'm not sure whose jurisdiction that would fall under. I assume the state of Minnesota, but I can't see how they could possibly even consider the idea of any sort of plea deal. Like, the country's burning to the ground. Like, they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to throw the book at these guys. And my dad, has to sit there while people that he has met through music and met through the world and met through different things that they have done are calling all police murderers, calling all police racists, and it breaks my heart. The whole thing, the whole situation.
Well, nothing is that simple, though,
No, but if you just got the information from looking at social media and seeing the slogans that people are throwing up there, you would think that it is all right-wing, Blue Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, touting Trump supporters, and then
that's
Antifa.
That's kind of one of the most disgusting things about social media. I mean, I've seen all kinds of things on social media about these protests, and I've seen good things, and I've seen really, really horrible things. But
right.
I just, what really bothers me is how people just try and hijack these moments, for just this this very narrow view. It's like this is a way bigger problem and way more nuanced and complex. You
can't sum it up in a meme. There's no possible way to do that. And I've been struggling, even like before this COVID thing hit. I've been trying to wean myself a little off social media because it's so beneficial. We've been contacting each other to coordinate this podcast through that. I found out, made friends at events that way, but it's just like we're seeing the amount of disinformation and just how toxic it is. It gets you arguing with people you don't need to be arguing with. And it's one thing if you can have an exchange like Aaron described with somebody, but there's nothing more pointless, and I don't care what they said, than trying to argue with strangers on like the Washington Post thread or something like that. It's just the biggest waste of time and it doesn't help anything or add to anything.
Well, it also occupies your mind when you're not on it. Like I'm hanging out with my kid and my wife, and I am clearly vexed because I'm having a mental argument with somebody on the fucking internet.
Who we've never even met, you know?
Or that I have met, and I know the depth of their, like, you know, I see my fucking uncle post something like an idiot, and I'm having a mental argument with him, full well knowing the level of his ignorance, you know, and instead of just going, you know, hey, that's his model of the world, there's nothing I can do to change it, I just sit around like formulating arguments to like inflict damage in a fight.
Well, I mean, it's not like before social media came around, you knew where your uncle stood, and you probably may have been opposed to that, but it's the kind of thing like, yeah, because you saw it an hour ago, now when it's time where you should be present with those you care about the most in real life, your life and kid, it's just like, yeah, just because I'm thinking about this thing I wouldn't be thinking about otherwise if I hadn't just been scrolling through social media, you know?
Right.
It's even in a non-political realm. It's the way, like, you see that girl from high school who dumped you or something, and maybe you're over it, but it's got this subliminal thing in your head. Shit, you don't need to be thinking about that.
Right.
We're not supposed to be thinking about
Right.
it, you know? People didn't, that sort of thing.
Well, and then there's this other thing too that has been driving me nuts for a long time, but it has like really reached a boiling point, and that is the people who are trying to leverage their social media currency to they're trying to leverage their social media currency by making a lot of if X then Y statements. If you don't support X, then you can unfriend me now, or you can fuck off, or you can die, or you're a racist, or you're a terrorist, or you're a piece of shit. The if X then Y shit has got to fucking go, because that is not going to foster a productive conversation.
It's not really how to have a good productive conversation. Exactly. Like that's not going to do much.
No. And before Facebook, when had anyone ever said that? When have you ever walked into a room of friends and be like, okay, everybody, if any of you feel this way, you can all get out of here. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
What's that? Did I hear you say you like Green Day? Get the fuck out.
All right. Glad you did, man.
Right.
Well, now I know where you stand.
Well, and I've seen a lot of people, like one example is it becomes this like dichotomy of you're either Black Lives Matter or Blue Lives Matter or like all lives matter, right? And it's like people come out and they suggest that if you say Black Lives Matter, you're making a racist statement. Okay, first of all, no. Imagine that this is all of us. Okay, this is all people. This is all living things, and then some among us decide to alienate and persecute one group among us because of the color of their skin, their religion, their gender, what have you, right? And then we say, oh, no. These people matter too. These people matter too. They are part of us. So we need to together agree that what those among us who have tried to alienate and ostracize them has been saying is not acceptable, and we bring these people back into the fold. I mean, to me, Black Lives Matter, you might as well be saying Black Lives Matter also, and it's fucking important, you know? So we need to do something about it.
And maybe to those critics, the All Lives Matter people, just tell them, hey, from a marketing standpoint, Black Lives Matter works better than that whole thing you said there. It's not that we don't like other people. It's like, come on. Just to the point, that whole like All Lives Matter, I always thought it's stupid. I'll put it in a metaphor that would work great in this podcast. That's like saying I like Judas Priest. Then snapping right back, going, "What's wrong with Iron Maiden?"
Yeah.
I didn't say anything was wrong with Iron Maiden. I just wanted to say right now I want to focus on Judas Priest. No one say it's just, but it's just such a straw man argument. Nobody
Absolutely.
like, that somebody would really feel so threatened that like, oh, you didn't. So what about my life? Huh? Like,
Right. It's like we're not saying anything about your life. We're acknowledging that a group of people have been outcast from the entire group, and that we need to take action to see that they are acknowledged as being part of the fucking group. You know? And here's the other thing. If you look up the definition of racism, it is a presupposition that one group is by virtue inferior or superior to another group. Okay? So for someone to chant Black Lives Matter is not saying that anybody else is part of an inferior group or they are a superior group. They are fucking crying out for fucking inclusion and to stop being fucking murdered, man.
Yeah.
Like that argument just holds no water to me. And it's like I understand the perspective of what people are saying, but I talked at the beginning about how like we need to have this conversation with like our community. And I think the main message that I want to send to our community is to put your fucking shield down and stop being so goddamn defensive about everything. You know? It's like nobody's asking you to like that by acknowledging your privilege you have to lay it down. You know what I mean?
I agree.
You don't have to vacate your privilege just by acknowledging it. You still get to keep your stuff. You still get to keep your job. You still get to keep the advantages your education has brought you because you had an easier time getting into a college. Just fucking acknowledge it and pay attention and learn a thing or two about systematic oppression, you know?
Well, you guys were talking about earlier about like the kind of Pollyanna upbringing or whatever. However you described your upbringing there. And what's different about my experience is like I was raised basically being very suspicious of a world that was very judgmental of my living situation. And it's been a real honestly kind of a real miracle to see the transformation that's occurred in the culture when it comes to like LGBTQ stuff.
Right, because gay people had no rights when you were growing up.
Over the past, over my entire lifespan thus far. And then
remind me what your situation was. Sorry.
Oh, I had two dads growing up. You know,
it's a thing.
Yeah,
it's a thing.
It's a thing.
Hashtag gay dad.
But in Kansas, it was not a.
Yeah.
It was not the most popular.
Yeah, it wasn't a popular thing.
So I was definitely brought up with that notion of like, people are judging you, you have to beware, you have to understand that, there's going to be issues,
Right.
That there's elements out there that don't want us to exist, that they don't understand, and therefore they're afraid, and their fear makes them very reactionary to such an idea,
Right.
Whereas now that's you see a lot less of that, but it's just it's appalling to me how that attitude just in the span of my life has changed so much, yet we're still in the same fucking situation when it comes to Black people and people of color. Like it blows my mind.
Well, that's the systematic thing, like we were talking about, where when we were younger, we're growing up thinking like, oh, this is post-racist America, which wasn't the case at all. But just to what you said, like when we've come such a far way, you see society. Personally, we've made long strides with that, but systematically, we're still having a problem. Then, yeah, this is a much more deeply ingrained issue than we were told, for sure. But going back to what you're saying earlier, it's like, that you're so shocked that this is dividing people. You're right. This shouldn't be a divisive issue. I've been saying a lot over these past few years. This isn't about right versus left. This is about right versus wrong.
Right.
And that's just the reason why someone like your dad, Aaron, who, might have some differences in opinion from you, he doesn't need, of course, he's going to see this and know this isn't the right thing to do, that this is wrong. So it's good to finally see some people who before weren't saying that have finally started to see that. But let's just see if action gets taken for once. Because, I mean, we saw when I was in first grade, I think, I remember when the Rodney King happened, it went to trial, they just weren't prosecuted. And we saw what happened. In that case, that guy didn't even die. This time we're talking about countless murders, and especially this one of George Floyd, just right on camera there, that there's no denying it. It's just the fact that we even go to a trial for something like this is just unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, the one I'm always like reaching for some sort of best case scenario. I'm always reaching for something semi-optimistic to take. And, I mean, the one thing that I've been able to take is this case is so egregious and so blatant and so horrifying that it is completely undeniable for anyone who sees it. And it becomes less of a political issue and becomes more of just like a very human issue. Like I said, my dad took up for the security guards who whipped my ass at the Southwest Plaza Mall when I was a little punk and got in trouble, and I fucking hated him for it. I was so mad that he would take the side of a fucking security guard who roughed up his kid. You know what I mean? Like my dad, like he's blue through and through. He was a career cop. But as time went on through his career, he saw more and more examples of the bad actors in their ranks. He saw a couple of cops that he knew take me to jail for nothing. There was a cop who put me in a chokehold and threw me on the hood of his car, and my dad saw that, and so little by little over time, by having a son who was a criminal, he got to kind of see, he got to see those cracks in the foundation of the organization that he'd been a part of. And
he appreciates you for that.
Well, and now he's seen this, and it is just so egregious and undeniable and blatant that it's like it is changing people's point of view. It's almost in a way elevating the discussion to a new level. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I'm sure right and left will fight about all kinds of things after this, but it's like with this going on, you've got so many people across party lines that are just going, holy fuck, this is awful. There's just no way. This is terrible.
Support this. There is no other side. I agree. I know.
Indefensible is the word that keeps poking into my head. It is just completely and totally indefensible. There's no justification that you can come up for at this. And another thing that popped into my head is like, let's say for the sake of argument that you are a racist, okay? Let's say for the sake of argument that someone is a racist, like an unabashed, unapologetic racist. It's like
a card-carrying member.
Yeah, it's like, this isn't good for you either. Because with something like this, all right, if you are a racist, chances are you are either very, very poor and living in an insulated community where you're not exposed to any sort of cultural diversity whatsoever, or you are very, very rich and insulated from any sort of cultural, outside cultural cross-mingling, right? Now, if you're on the very, very poor end, with the ever-expanding wealth gap, how long is it before being white is not enough? How long is it before your fucking broke-ass, white-ass kids start getting beat the fuck up and start getting killed by police officers because they are considered undesirables by psychopathic fucking assholes with weapons, And on the other end of it, if you happen to be a super rich racist, This is not good for you because at some point people are going to wise up and stop trashing the cities, and they're going to start moving into the suburbs. Like what?
Start heading south, man, down University Boulevard.
Didn't they start heading into Beverly Hills? Isn't that something that I saw? Like protesters started moving into Beverly Hills.
It was getting outside LA, man. And even like downtown LA now, where those riots happened it was 30 years ago. Now that area is like, it's just like what happened to Lodo. Expensive lofts. The people who once lived there have been moved out. So it would be a much different scene, much different people affected by it if that stuff happened there today. Yeah, you're right.
It's not good for anybody. Is my point. Even if you are one of the vile, repellent people who is actually celebrating this situation, it's not going to end well for you either.
It's just the worst of humanity in general. And this is just purely anecdotal about the current state of police for me, because I haven't done research, crunched the numbers on this. It just feels, talking to people these days who've had experiences and talking to people like you whose dad was on the force a long time ago, they're not getting the Andy Griffith types, if that ever was a thing, about people who want to get the bad guys, people who want to do good. You know, your Ethan Hawke in Training Day, who's got a new baby on the way and just wants to make sure the world's good.
Right.
It feels like you're getting a lot of this stereotype guys who got kicked around in high school and get even with the world.
Right.
People who had this really messed up idea of what justice is. It seems like that's who's going for it, and more like your father. Those guys are kind of more seeing this and being like, I don't know if I want to be a part of this thing.
Right.
This isn't really the chance to do it. I could be wrong. I don't know. And there's I have to talk to everyone on the force, but it just seems like it's getting hard to deny that there's not a culture of that within American police.
Right.
You know?
Well, and to that point, to the like Blue Lives Matter people, they should be angry about this too.
No, it doesn't. It makes cops look terrible.
Well, it not only makes cops look terrible, it is exposing the fact that the police departments so let's say for the sake of argument that we're dealing with some guys who have really advanced PTSD from all the interactions that they have really, really advanced and acute personality disorders of some sort, right? Well, the departments and the police unions have failed their officers by not screening people properly, by not providing appropriate training. Like the thing that guy did with his shin, that would get your ass kicked in a jiu-jitsu class. You know, if you did that to someone, that's not something that he was like taught in training. That's something that he like threw down on a dude, just to try it out. Or just to see what happens, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And one of the sad things is that, from my understanding, Minneapolis, at least at one point, was really on the path to reform as far as police departments go. They had a very progressive woman of color chief of police. I don't think she's currently the chief of police, but at that time, they were trying to institute a lot of coaching programs and a lot of programs to try and get police, like trying to reform a police department, which in Minneapolis, from my understanding, has been just marred with complaints of racism and brutality and unfairness. Wow. And this is my understanding. I could be wrong. I'm a fucking idiot in a rock and roll band, so anybody who's like screaming at their screen right now, I'm sorry. Fucking help me out. Educate me. Don't yell at me.
Three of us right here.
You could just leave a comment and tell us how wrong he is.
That's one of the benefits of social media. Just try and be nice. Don't give.
Just point out.
Reject yourself right now or unfollowing you.
Yeah.
Point it out in a very respectful manner. Sorry, dude. No.
As it turns out, you are mistaken. No, I mean, but this is what I have come to, I think, understand is what's going on with them. So even this department that had taken measures to reform, has been going through this. I can only imagine what is going on in departments in other communities, like other more poverty-ridden communities or that are more mired in racism or more mired in inequality than even Minneapolis is. Like, I can only imagine the type of stuff that is going on and not getting captured on video.
Well, it was that quote we're saying that, like, it's not new. It's just that people are now it's getting taped.
Right.
You know?
That was Will Smith, I think, and he said
Yeah.
racism isn't getting worse; it's just getting filmed. And again, reaching for something positive, you know, God, I'm so glad it is getting filmed. You know, I don't want to see that video, but I'm glad I saw it because I will never be able to unsee it.
I've seen the photos, and I might end up seeing the video in some way, but I'm just kind of respecting people's wishes who request that we don't watch that. And I happened to kind of get online quick enough where I could be one of those people. I understand some people did, but yeah, I don't know. Some people, this whole point, whether you should watch it or not, the term for something porn, I forget what they're
Murder
using,
porn,
but
yeah,
that sort of thing. So I'm sure I'll end up seeing another video.
I happened upon it when it was surfacing early on,
Oh,
you know.
yeah, it's almost you're right there. It's almost impossible not to see this stuff.
And I don't know about you guys, but I haven't stopped crying for, like, I'm tearing up now just talking about it.
No, it's hard, man. It's I guess
it's traumatizing.
Well,
I mean, it's like on top of what we're already experiencing prior to this.
Right.
Yeah, it happened the worst time for this, you know, during a pandemic, during an unprecedented time where we've been cooped up already, you know,
and terrified. And terrified. Yeah. That's an important thing to to add as a caveat to this is everyone involved is fucking terrified.
Oh yeah, they're wearing. Well, it's like this is the first time when I'm looking at people's masks and I'm like, looking at each one, wondering, do you think that person put that mask on more because they're afraid of tear gas or more because they're just following orders for the pandemic? It's just bizarre, you know. This first time I've ever, I think, in the history of the world, anyone's looked at a protest that way.
Right.
You guys weren't down there at all, were you, this weekend?
No, as Gordo mentioned, he lives with an immunocompromised person, right. So he has been limiting his contact with people, and
far too much for far too long.
Yeah.
It's really driving me batshit crazy.
I was thinking later tonight I might, and I just wasn't able to get down for. I kind of feel bad. I did still do some things like donate this weekend. I wanted to go kind of maybe take a drive down there later tonight, see what's up. But yeah, just it's so weird because I realize all these places I used to see on like a weekly basis, if not more, I haven't even seen in so long. But yeah, and I heard it looks a lot different down there right now than it did even last week.
I don't think I would be doing anybody any favors if I went down there. Yeah. And because for a few reasons, I'm somebody's father. I have a responsibility. Sure. I'm somebody's partner. I have a responsibility. I am involved with feeding the public right now, and the company that I work for does a lot of great work in the community, and my behavior outside of work reflects on them. Additionally, I'm a convicted felon, you know, and
yeah, don't want to get swept up for some dumb reason that
I can't sacrifice my freedom and my family's livelihood to go getting in people's faces. And so what I've really been looking for, and it's been this battle, and I'm sure you guys have been experiencing it too. And right before we got on the podcast, I start seeing that people are starting to mute themselves. Have you seen that thing that's going on, where like white people are muting themselves on social media? It's basically going to be a Caucasian content blackout, where people are going to be muting themselves from the 1st to the 7th. To basically, like I did with doing my videos, to open up the feed to the voices of black people and people of color in general. So that's going on. So
anytime people are talking less on social media, it's probably a good thing,
right.
so.
Especially, and I'm sorry to say this, and this is going to sound racist of me to say, but especially white people just kind of need to shut the fuck up. Especially our fucking president, dude. Especially our fucking president. He is acting like a goddamn cartoon despot right now.
I wish I could say I was surprised.
I know, that's at this point, it's just like remember when he was campaigning and he was like, he said what?
Yeah.
Now, I can't believe it. And I'm just going to remind this like everyone else. A majority of the country did not vote for this guy.
Yeah.
It's like, this is not a democracy. Look what's going on in this, what we're seeing in the street and the unrest, and now there's an entire demographic of our fellow Americans who are not seeing the same America we do, or that a lot of people do. Meanwhile, we don't even get the better of two bad options we vote for. It's ridiculous. And
did you see when he was mocking the protesters? Did you see that tweet? The one where he said, he said anybody who gets over the fence will be met with vicious dogs and ominous weapons.
Meanwhile, I'll be in the bunker.
Right, exactly. The little bitch turned out the lights.
Why is it like alpha? These like supposed like alpha tough guys are supposed to be so intrigued by this guy. He's a total pussy. He never says this shit to people's face. He's a little bitch who whines about everything, in terrible shape too. Like,
right. You'd think the alphas would not be a fan of him. You'd think they would see him as some Fifth Avenue spray tan fucking punk, but
no.
He is just the whiniest bitch, really. Totally. God. I mean, fuck. Yeah, I can't stand talking about that guy. I really.
Yeah, I know, and it's like you can't help but touch on it, and I just try not to give that guy any more amplification, but it's just like,
hey, but you know what? If you're a supporter of Trump and you watch the MF podcast or you listen to the MF podcast, there's always an opportunity to change your mind.
There's always an opportunity to change your mind. And I think, and I will say that I think on this show, we've been pretty I guess not nonpartisan, because we are pretty out and out about our political perspectives on the show.
There comes a point, like we said, it's not right versus left. It's right versus wrong.
Right.
It's
not good guys. It's not like the red guys are the bad guys and the blue guys are the good guys. Like, it's not Tron. You know?
If only we could just solve this with a little motorcycle race somehow. we would put our best guy up there. You know,
yeah.
I think we'd have something.
Yeah,
but no, it ain't that simple.
No, yeah, I mean,
we should put up our dudes against Trump any day. Trump.
Dude, there's this really great, and this is the last thing I'll even say alluding to Trump, but. There was a really great episode of the Making Sense podcast, which is Sam Harris's podcast, where he sits down with, and I can't for the life of me, I'd have to grab my phone and look it up so I can plug it, but he has a conversation with this guy who is he's a conservative author, and the guy is a conservative who is vehemently outspoken against Trump, and just what an embarrassment he is to the conservative ideals. You know, even if you always vote party line and always vote Republican and conservative, he does not stand for your fucking team, dude.
No,
not at all. I mean, that's the last I'll say about that fucking asshole. But you know,
and gotta get him the fuck out of there. Get him the fuck out of here, man. If there's never been more of like a clear. Get fucking mobilized now. Oh God, I don't even want to think about what 2021 will be like.
I'm just concerned that the left seems to have trouble getting on the same page, that Biden is a means to an end.
Yeah,
you know,
I promise we won't turn this into a whole stump speech for him. But all I could say to those who want to vote against him, or who need to vote against him, might not be crazy about Joe Biden. You don't want to have a beer with him or whatever. That's fine. Vote for the platform.
Right.
That's what you should always vote for. It doesn't matter. I mean, not that we feel like them, but keep in mind, evangelical Christians got behind a godless heathen like Donald Trump because of his running mate. The man would fucking burn up if he goes anywhere near a church.
Right.
But because of his running mate and because of his platform, it's true.
Right.
And they're getting what they want out of him. They were willing to do it. It's because of his platform. They're getting more they wanted out of Trump than they got from W, and W actually went to church. But it's like,
dude, and he went after W too. That's what's fucking, dude. That's like, dude, I marched against George W. Bush.
Oh, I did too.
Like I went.
Fondly remember him.
Like,
Oh, that little guy.
Dude, I mean, I went to the Capitol and protested that fucker. You know what I mean? And like, even still, when Trump went after him, I'm like, man, I never thought I would feel kind of bad for George W. Bush because like he's like trying to like, come on, let's get the country together and come on, everybody needs to come together on this. And Trump's like, yeah, shut up, bitch. Like, just so fucking like uncouth and like tactless and just mean and bullying and rude and obnoxious.
Who's gonna who's gonna? Because they got their convention coming up if he doesn't end up pulling out of Charlotte like he's threatened to do with it. But like, Bush isn't going to show up to the convention. McCain's dead. Romney's probably not welcome at the convention. That means their past 3 nominees aren't even going to show up to endorse the current president, the current guy. It's just
my prediction is that hopefully not if but when Trump has to surrender the presidency, whether it's by loss in an election or, God forbid, the end of a second term, God forbid.
Oh God.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to imagine, but I predict that he will not show up for the inauguration of whoever the new president is.
No, probably not.
Why would he do that?
He didn't show up. Didn't have a ceremony for Obama's photo being hung.
Right.
It's just like,
well, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
That he'll just do what he wants to do in the face of tradition. He doesn't really give a shit. Like,
right.
There's his agenda, and that's it.
So
right.
That's like, aren't conservatives generally more traditions very important to them? You'd think you'd feel like a conservative would be very upset when they didn't want to lower the flag upon the death of John McCain, or if the way he's representing the country. And
right.
It's embarrassing, you know. It's like I was very young. I'm not really a fan of Ronald Reagan's policies, but one term I'd never heard people who disliked him or liked him use for him embarrassed by the guy. It's like this.
Right.
This dude is, poor leader, and you're right. Let's just get him the fuck out. But for those who want to have if the candidate, the whole thing, I don't know if I want to have a beer with that guy. If you want to have a beer with a candidate, you should vote against them, because if they lose, you're far more likely to get to have that beer with them. So it's not even, don't worry about the platform.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I mean, platform. I'm not, Joe Biden is the furthest thing from sexy in my mind, but I'm gonna vote for him. There's no question in my mind.
Right.
I mean, he talks about what was it today? I saw a little video of him like talking about how they need to change how police are trained, and he was talking about, hey, you got an unarmed guy coming at you with a knife, maybe shoot him in the leg. I mean, what's wrong with that statement?
There was a case in Denver, and I mean, now we're seeing it blow up. Years ago, it was a kid of color who was like a knife, and same exact thing. They ended up just like shooting him point blank. So sorry to go back there, but that just reminded me. And I know you're going to speak. I just remember The Onion, the way they portrayed him when he was vice president, about like setting up the fog machine before the State of the Union and washing his Camaro with his shirt off. Come on,
totally.
We'll get some good parody out of the guy, no question, because it's like the current president's too easy to make fun of. It's not even fun to anymore,
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys some breaking news. I did see this right when it came in. The George Floyd family autopsy has confirmed that George Floyd was strangled.
There was a suspicion that it might have been.
Oh yeah, no, I saw the official report. That bullshit official report. Dude, I can't believe they tried to slide that one through.
Yeah.
I can't believe they tried to slide that through. That is just
the whole concept of just going out there and actually saying that shit in public, like in front of a fucking camera, it just blew my mind. Like, you're really gonna go there? You're really gonna go there? You chose this moment to do your preliminary findings on this autopsy.
They should strip that doctor's medical license. They should strip that doctor's medical license. He should, I mean, and quite frankly, he should at least be charged with something along with those cops, because that is disgusting on his part to even suggest that anything other than having a fucking shin on your neck for 9 goddamn minutes. It's like, oh, he had intoxicants in his body and a heart condition. Fuck all the way off with that shit.
Good Lord. That's, oh man. Yeah, okay, just to clear that one out of the way. So,
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the death stuff. But
so, okay, so here's a question for you guys. Because Jonathan, you came all the way over here through cyberspace. I want to talk about your band. I want to talk about what you're working on.
Horrible here, man.
Yeah.
God.
I mean, I want to talk about stuff, and I've been looking forward to having you on, and there's so much I want to learn about you because we've always just kind of known each other casually around the scene.
Yeah.
But I want to put it to you guys, you know, we're living in this time where just meteoric trauma has impacted the earth, you know, and it's just like rippling out these shock waves of just riots and destruction and chaos and anger and is brought about just this nuclear winter of just like depression and gloom and doom and all these, like we're living in this, like we're living in the middle. Like I actually for a minute started to consider the simulation theory of existence. Like I went, this has to be a simulation, because there's no, like you couldn't, like life isn't this dystopian, is it? It's not this bad, is it?
With his SimCity, yeah, I wanted to.
Dude, like, so my question, the question I want to put to you guys is, as 3 formerly bearded white dudes.
That's right. I wanted to bring some diversity to the podcast.
You face traitor.
It's coming back.
Just push really hard. You'll grow it back out. So what do we suggest to the people? Because like I said, you know, I've been trying not to crowd the space, but I've been trying to think of ways that I can use the very small and limited platform that I do have, that we have, to do some good, to be a helper. So from our tiny little platform on the internet, where maybe by this point 5 people are watching max because they're tired of hearing us rant and rave, but the people who are going to watch this, the people who are going to listen to this, you know, are easily, probably, primarily 35 to 44-year-old Caucasian male audience. You know, what do we say to them when they are feeling helpless, don't know how to act, don't know how to be an ally, don't know how to listen? Like, what do we say to people? What advice do we give from our platform to try and help people and try and do the most good that we possibly can to support the people of color in our community who don't need us to stand in front of them and talk for them, and don't need us fucking taking it over, and don't need us co-opting us, and don't need us making unnecessary noise and distracting from the conversation, but just need our support. What do we do?
Well, that's a very, very complex answer.
Yeah, lots of ways we could go with that.
Yeah.
Start throwing some stuff my way.
I'll tell you what, like from my experience, I can just say, just from my experience alone, for example, like, you know, if we're talking to, you know, our fellow Caucasians, you know, think about this example. When I was growing up, it was very in vogue to use the word faggot all the time. I heard it all the time. People called me a faggot a lot. and they threw that word around a lot. I tried to call attention to the fact that, hey, my dad's gay, right? And so it made people think about, oh, wait a minute, that person is, oh, that's going to affect that person in that way. Maybe that's going to
Have I told you, Gordo, that you're
you
one of
know.
the main reasons that I completely stopped using that word?
Really?
Yeah, I mean, me and
See, I did something, Dad.
so like
There
me
you
and the
go.
Ruckus guys, we love to rip on each other. Like, it's
Oh,
just
sure.
it's just part of being a dude and part of the old way of being, a dude with your other dude friends is to just sit there and rip on each other and come up with as many.
There it is. You just explained. I didn't have to explain the rest of it. You just explained it.
Right.
It's such a heteronormative thing, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
It's such a part of male socialization in our country. It's just like you're brought up to not be a fucking faggot. You're brought up
Or a
to
pussy
like
or a
girls.
bitch.
Yeah, don't be a pussy or a bitch. And when it comes down to it, the think about the language that you're using.
Punch
Think
your
about what you're
problems
saying.
out. That's another one.
Yeah,
Punch
really.
your problems out.
It's like think about how much of that baggage, that you're dealing with comes from learned behavior. Think about, what someone else hearing that might think. So that's a very good example. Like, when you're talking about like razzing your friends and stuff like that, and like that's, I get it. That's what people do. That's the locker room talk or whatever you want to, like,
Right.
But when it comes down to it, like, in mixed company, it's like whether you're in mixed company or not, it's
I love the air quotes on mixed company. That's
Yeah,
so
I just
fun.
I just hate that phrase. It's just the only way to express what I'm saying. Like
Well, that's part of the problem we're saying now about, they're saying the problem wasn't just like, don't just do it, don't be okay with that. And when people would say mixed company, that's just saying, I'm okay with it, but when we're in mixed company, for the sake of etiquette, let's not go there.
Right.
Exactly.
It's a major faux pas to use a hateful slur against someone when they're at a dinner party.
Yeah, how to
Yeah.
realize it goes beyond etiquette? Why you should just etiquette? Why you shouldn't use that? It's not
yeah,
just,
exactly.
Well, but like becoming your friend, and like I've learned a lot through being your friend, Gordo, and I've learned a lot about ways that I was insensitive in the past, or I've learned in ways that I've learned a lot about a different kind of perspective just through being your friend. And yeah, I mean, it was already falling out of chic for a long time, and it kind of gradually went away. Once in a while I would drop an F-bomb on Tony or Logan or something like that. But all of us have stripped it from our vocabulary, and that is something we used to do it a lot.
Oh, it's a very common thing. The guys do that shit all the time. I mean, that goes to my point.
Right.
It's just like that's the kind of shit that we need to be thinking about in terms of black people and people of color. Like think about that shit.
well, look how unfortunately, it's hasn't gone away fully. But look how even up to 2014, it was still, if somebody would drive around with a Southern flag with a Stars and Bars bumper sticker, you'd just kind of be like, oh, wow, one of them. Or people could still get away with saying, no, it's just pride for where I'm from, Now,
No, I just like Leonard Skinner, Nashville pussy, man. Come on.
Yeah, man, that's all. At least like Dukes Hazzard, that's all, But now we've learned, hey, it's not that, and you can't just wave it that willy-nilly and not say you're standing for something else. But at the same time, I get that if there was someone I think of specifically who had a small one on a motorcycle jacket, they don't even remember where they got the patch. It was on there because it's commonplace. And then, as times changed, they realized that, wow, this is what it really means. They took it off. That's a good thing,
Right.
I mean, and I understand he wasn't a hateful person. He was just, society had told him, just like we were taught when we were growing up in high school, it was totally okay to drop F-bombs on your friends. It didn't, it was just like calling him an asshole or something. So I don't hold it against him, and I don't hold it against people like that who can maybe look at those old things we've been taught and question that and kind of not be afraid to go against something they've against the other thing they've been taught because they're worried about their identity. I think that says a lot about somebody if they're willing to, if they can change their opinion because new information has presented itself. It says you're a smart person.
That's what an intelligent adult does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if like you felt one way for, if you would have told me when I was like 19 or 20 how bad systematic racism really is, I would have been, well, I don't really know. But unfortunately, from what I've learned and what I've seen, I know I was wrong. I wish I wasn't that naive, but no, I know now. And I think there's a lot of people out there who might still kind of feel that way. And I think gotta, one, inform them, but also let them know, get this, as we said, it's okay to change your opinion or change your view on something.
I think if Ronnie Van Zant from Lynyrd Skynyrd was alive, I think he would probably be outspoken against the Confederate flag.
Oh yeah.
Because that was just the kind of guy he was. Now we can only speculate, a dead man's perspective, but just because of the type of person that he was, being, kind of a Southern hippie and, loving Jimi Hendrix and
Perspective is a great name for a band, man.
Oh man.
What?
Dead Man's
Perspective. Yeah. That's that's an Immortal Technique line when he's talking about Tupac. He's talking about people who summon the name of Tupac, and he's like, what the fuck do you know about a dead man's perspective? Yeah, it's Immortal Technique. If you ever feel like bumming yourself out, listen to half of Immortal Technique album.
Right, it's half.
Dude, half of 3 songs, and you'll be fucking sorely bummed out.
The full thing.
Yeah, especially if you're a white dude. Oh my God, you'll be bummed the fuck out listening to an Immortal Technique album.
Everybody, all right, listen to at least 3 Immortal Technique songs.
Yeah.
We can make ourselves do it.
At this point, listening to Immortal Technique might actually cheer you up. But what I wanted to tell you, what really put the final nail in the coffin for me with the Stars and Bars thing with the Confederate flag is, I am a fan of Southern rock music, and I'm a fan of Nashville Pussy. And, we played with Nashville Pussy one time, and they had this Italian merch dude. And he's going, I don't understand why everybody in the U.S. gets so upset about the Confederate flag. He's like, people wear the Union Jack all the time, and the English flag stands for so much oppression and brutality and it's just a piece of fabric, blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah, you've got something there, blah blah blah. But then what turned me on it completely is seeing that meme about the argument that Stone Cold Steve Austin had with someone about it. Have you guys seen that shit?
No, I haven't. What was that?
Dude,
yeah.
I gotta see if I can.
Inform me, please.
I gotta see if I can find this, and I'll put it up in the picture-in-picture, and you guys won't be able to see it, but I'll read it to you. Let me Google it real quick. So, Stone Cold Steve Austin Confederate. Oh, dude, this is so good. There's got to be an image of it.
Now, is Stone Cold, which side of the argument is Stone Cold?
Oh, dude, you're gonna love this, dude. It made me love Stone Cold Steve Austin so fucking much. And dude, this really, this turned me on this. So hold on. So
Nice.
Command V. Okay, cool. So I've got it up on the screen. You guys can't see it, but our audience will be able to see it. So somebody put up this thing that just said, "Why did Stone Cold Steve Austin snap like this? I'm in tears." And it's like somebody who, somebody who was upset about the fact that he got bent out of shape about the Confederate flag. And so what is this? So the person replied to it and said, "For us, it wasn't a sign of hatred or hate or ignorance. It's a sign of Southern pride, a pride in which you come from, the people, blah, 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 blah. Heritage, lineage, blah, blah, blah." The same shit that people always say, right? And then Stone Cold Steve Austin replied to it and said, in all caps, "That's nice and all, but if I recall, it don't matter what it means to you, because to African Americans everywhere, it's a symbol of oppression, hatred, and inequality. So your stupid little heritage, not hate story don't mean shit, because your stupid little heritage was built on the back of slaves, and identifying with that sort of identifying with that kind of sort of definitely makes you trash in the Texas rattlesnake's eyes. So you can continue to spew your bullshit, but just know that none of us care, you dumb racist sumbitch, and that's the bottom line.
I think he needs to be our. We need a Stone Cold Steve Austin as our representative for guys like people not of color, white dudes like us need to represent us, because we don't need no more of the standard like whiny
Caucasian cis males everywhere.
Tough guy. Yeah, we need a tough guy who goes against that, who scares the shit out of these people in their face, and is just like, that's
actually a really fair point. Is I think that there's a lot of guys who like know in their heart that certain things are wrong. They know in their heart they would like to change their ways, but the container that they're in their community, they know they're like afraid of being ostracized by their friends in their community. You know what I mean?
That's the confinement of gender roles.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But I think if you had, like, I think there's this idea in your head that if you start being a little more politically correct and a little more, liberal and progressive in your thinking and a little more inclusive and a little, more non-binary and whatnot, and you start thinking in those ways, I think there's this idea in your head that, like, you've got to be some weak, scrawny little, quote-unquote libtard, right? And
that's the whole thing about calling everybody snowflakes and shit.
Right.
Oh, God. Meanwhile, these guys can be, like, the biggest snowflakes out of anybody.
Yeah, you got to be a snowflake cuck to believe that. You know what I mean?
To believe something like that. Yeah, exactly.
But that's essentially, like, name calling is just like that doesn't hold any water for any kind of actual intellectual argument ever. So,
no.
Sorry, not going to convince me.
Especially on the internet, oh shit, this guy called me a cuck. Great.
Well, right, but that's kind of my point. Is for the guys who are maintaining the status quo because they think they have no choice, because social pressure is a motherfucker and can keep people from changing for a long time. I kept drinking for a long time because I thought that if I quit drinking, I would lose my social ties. You know what I mean? I would no longer be able to connect with anybody. Of course, I found out that was untrue, but Stone Cold Steve Austin should be the representative of, like, man's man progressives.
Yeah, we need more guy like him, or John Cena, who I happen to share a birthday with. That's another point. He's supposed to be a very progressive guy, and also just like real. No, these are the. I think yes, we need a guy like that. Just let's take that macho-ness that the alt-right or whatever has co-opted and doesn't grow, and maybe apply it just a little bit to our progressiveness a little bit. You need diversity, sort of thing. Like,
you know who else is
wealth inequality in the ass. Yeah, there you go.
You know who else is supposed to be kind of a super progressive tough guy is the dude from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Bautista.
Yeah, somebody on Twitter asked him if he was a Trump supporter, like and I think it was some MAGA dude was like asking him if he was into MAGA or into Trump, and there's this tweet and it's in all caps because that's how tough guys fucking tweet.
Yeah, that's a tough guy's tweet.
He's just like, oh no, fuck no, like goes off, man. It's pretty good. So yeah, Stone Cold, thank you very much for making it possible to be a tough guy and an inclusive, progressive, decent human being and break down hetero norms.
Way to go, Stone Cold.
Yeah.
I've thought of that guy for a while. That's popping him back in my head there.
That's the bottom line.
Pop up again. Yeah.
Good to see Stone Cold Steve Austin pop up again.
Yeah. Man, I'm really glad that we had this conversation, guys. Like,
no, absolutely, man.
I mean, this shit has been eating me alive for the last few days. Like I said, I've just been crying and just like building these thoughts in my mind and just wanting to talk to anybody about them. And
it's important to talk about it, and it's hard, it's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As we said, we got to make sure. Yeah, I don't want to. talk the wrong way. I think just like we said before we started, speaking honest and from the heart, and be open to learn new things, be open to other perspectives when you do it. And I think we could be all right to have conversations about this.
Before I came in here today, this is what a fucking nerd I am. I Googled systemic oppression for beginners.
Got to start somewhere, man.
I mean, I mostly it's because I want to have cohesive information other than just the little snippets and kind of a priori things that I picked up over the years. Mm-hmm. And just experiential things over the years. But I'm looking up because I want to know the actual talking points, and I really want to know the who, what, when, where, why, and how, so that if I find myself in a situation where I'm trying to explain it to someone else, and that I saw a saying, someone posted something recently, each one teach one, which it's a saying that originates from people of color, but it's basically this idea that, each person take it upon themselves to educate someone. And we've talked about this on the show before, Gordo, that when we had Aaron Say on here, we talked about that Marcus Aurelius principle of, people were created for the sake of one another, either teach them or try to bear with them. Basically trying to have some patience for the more ignorant people among us, those of us, taking responsibility for our fellow man, and just instead of saying those people, having using more inclusive language by saying those of us who support Donald Trump, or those of us who are violent racist police officers, or those of us who have decided to co-opt the demonstrations with violence, taking responsibility and owning those of us in our society as our fellow human beings. They're not separate from us, and trying to do our best to teach those people.
So just my small contribution as I popped in into the comments there, 5280, or no, it's 303 magazine, I guess, has a list of black-owned businesses in Denver that you can contribute to, and I'm throwing that in there.
I saw that, and I was gonna check it out after the pod.
Some really good place to contribute. One group I gave to this weekend, I was really happy to contribute to, donate to, is Fair Fight, Stacey Abrams' organization she started, because a big source of this is freaking voting, man. We stop stop people from getting to the polls, and then on top of which, there's waiting in line to vote. We talk about privilege. Here's a privilege I've had my whole life. Longest I've ever waited in line to vote was 2004, a week before actual election day. I waited for about 15 minutes. Ever since then, I've just gone and turned it in. So that's something, that's a privilege I've had, and how I can maybe use to bring that privilege to everybody else. Because, it shouldn't be a privilege that it's great that I get to do it. Everybody should get to do it. But it's just, I drop off my ballot week in advance, and we're done. When I see this it's just so shocking when I see people waiting 3, 4, 5 hours to cast a vote. And it's like, what year is it? We don't have to. It does not need to be that way.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, just think, think in terms of every citizen. Think about people that are differently abled. Think about mail-in voting is essential. It's essential.
Right.
Totally.
Agreed.
And the argument Colorado is we are the gold standard for mail-in voting. There's been several people have said that. When it was after 2016 election, just totally bummed out. I went to a House district meeting, and they had somebody from Denver elections, or City County of Denver at the elections there. And she went on to kind of show us how our elections work, and said that international watchdog organizations have used Colorado as an example of how to run a good election that doesn't get tampered with and everything. And to the argument that, it leans towards Republicans, I voted against Cory Gardner by mail-in ballot. That didn't do shit. This past municipal election in 2019, generally, they're won by who show up, and liberals don't generally show up for those. And it was mostly won by older demographic who voted by mail. So it's like,
right.
It's elections are won based on who shows up. Everyone needs to be allowed to show up.
And anybody can fill out a ballot and put it in the mail.
Mail as well.
Say that again, Gordo.
Hopefully it'll get voted out by mail as well.
Yeah,
right. Exactly. I hope hopefully this time around it will make a difference.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been thinking as far as things that I can do is courageous conversations, but not combative conversations. Mm-hmm. You know, like I won't drop the guy's name because I don't want to put him on blast, but this acquaintance of mine who was posting the stuff about Black Lives Matter and Antifa being terrorist organizations and yada 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 yada. And he made an if X then Y statement. He said, if you have a problem with this, then you can hit that old unfriend button. And I told him, I was like, listen, I don't make if then statements at people. I was like, but I disagree with you. I don't support your assertion, and I think that you are mistaken, and here is why. And I engaged with him, and then, of course, one of his friends in the comments tried to start throwing examples at me too, and I gave my examples, I made my case, and instead of losing my temper and name calling and becoming combative and fucking the worst is doxing people, like that lady who got doxed for trying to run somebody down on Broadway, she deserves to get fucking doxed. But anybody who's getting doxed for something that they just say on social media, like, that's fucked up.
Dumbest.
You can endanger people's lives that way. And that's not cool. And it keeps people from engaging in dialogues that are important. Like, it keeps people from engaging on these social platforms because they're afraid of being piled on. It's like, instead of becoming combative, I pled my case, and because he was mistaken, because his information was faulty, because his logic was faulty, it's not that I won, but I presented sufficient evidence to get him to change his position. So courageous conversations with people without waving your finger in their face and calling them names and making threats and unfriending them and blocking them and putting them on blast and doxing them and holding them up to be pilloried by your friends and your little mutual approval machine. Throw tomatoes at this guy. It's like it's like a riot. Everybody's got a rock and there's a giant window and they just want to throw their rock at the window. It's like, no. Have a conversation with this person. Keep it civil and see if you can move the needle. So that's something that I've been contemplating, is those courageous conversations with people that I might otherwise want to avoid. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah,
good way to check how you feel. Make sure you're right. Here, kind of give your opinions a good workout to make.
Boy,
sure
nothing makes you realize how wrong you are about something or how ill-informed you are about a topic than when you try and have an argument with someone.
Yeah, and that brings me to something that reminds me about this whole social era too. About it's good to be informed and educate yourself, but it's also, and this goes for anything, not just the current climate. Sometimes it's okay not to have an opinion on something. Obviously, like the George Floyd, there's only one view there, but it's like the way I don't know everything about every single issue that there is out there, and it's okay to sometimes say no. Or if there's a figure, I'll give an example. Andrew Cuomo, he's coming up in the news a lot lately. I really don't know that much about the guy. I know he is probably doing a better job than the Republican he was running against would, or that lady that's from Sex and the City would, but some people think he's doing great. She tried to run against him. I'm sure she's a nice person. governor of New York, you might need a little more experience. But like, I don't know enough, and I'm not I don't live in New York. I know a thing or two about other governors. I decided I'm just not going to have an opinion on the guy. If he does something amazing or does something terrible, I might let that shift my opinion. But in the meantime, I wouldn't expect someone from New York to know all that much about Jared Polis.
Well, you raise an important point that applies to another thing that I've been seeing a trend, which is, again, it's another if-then statement that people are making, which is, if you aren't at least if you aren't going to protest, if you aren't going to do X, Y, Z, and you're not even going to post anything on social media, then you're an enemy, you're part of the problem, you're a racist, whatever, whatever pejoratives people want to throw at people.
You're an inactivist.
You're an inactivist. You know what?
I know that band.
I have learned time and time again that making knee-jerk statements from a place of anger, and worse yet, ignorant anger, if I had posted my thoughts on the present crisis right when the information first started coming out, there's nothing that I would particularly be embarrassed about, but I would have presented inaccurate information or an incomplete perspective.
Yeah, not a very constructive one.
Yeah, like a malformed idea. There is nothing, and I am saying this to the people that are listening to this and watching this, do not allow yourself to feel shamed and badgered into posting some opinion on social media if you don't feel that your thoughts are completely formed. That doesn't help anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you might not feel it's your place, and that's another.
And you might not feel that it's your place.
Totally, that's what we've been warned of. You want to give the space and let those who maybe have been affected by this. And just, I've seen this. You've brought up. It's a thing. People are kind of like shaming others because they might not see them share something on social media. That doesn't mean they don't care or aren't. They might just show that in different ways, or maybe they choose to use their social media differently. Like, I don't think I've said, just unrelated, an example, I don't think I've said over this whole time on my social media I've ever said anything about Harvey Weinstein. But just in case you're wondering, no, I don't think he's a good guy.
Right.
Because this is somebody, you don't judge people. They might, how do I know somebody maybe isn't very active? They might not have something on their Facebook page, but they may have just made a huge donation to the ACLU or something. Or they might not be at Facebook because they're attending meetings every week with some other organization and they'd rather be out there. Or
they might be showing their support by teaching their kids and loved ones and friends and things like that what they know. It's like, you give the same example. It's like, I don't remember the last time I talked about the Nazis in World War II, but in case I haven't shared anything, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, it's also like, we shouldn't forget that it's okay to ask questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Pose a question. If you're having conflicting feelings about something, or if you want to know something, you feel like you don't know everything about it, and you want to get somebody else's perspective, rather, ask a question.
I think people are afraid to ask questions.
I mean, just people should be educating themselves. I mean, I really feel that strongly. Like, you should really educate yourself about, like, what is the history of this particular problem in our fucking country? Like, educate yourself, look it up, read about it. I've strongly encouraged that, but also ask some fucking questions.
Right. And I think that there's a fear. Like, I reached out to Alan to invite him on the show, and there was a moment of hesitation because I was afraid to ask a question and appear, open myself up and to the vulnerability of being ignorant or possibly be perceived as being completely blind to the problem itself. You know what I mean? Like, there's there's fear of being attacked, like you're going to be pilloried in some way, or someone's going to shame you in some way. Like,
yeah, that's only human though. I just think that maybe the error sometimes is in expecting black people to answer our questions when we don't do our own research. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
I also think that it's important to destigmatize ignorance. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, we've mentioned those couple documentaries, and her name escapes me again, and I apologize. But the woman who made the 2 documentaries about she made a documentary about jihadis, and she made a documentary about white supremacists, and she sat down and had conversations with people from these groups respectively, and just asked a lot of questions, or the guy who converted all those Klan members. Yeah, Daryl. God, what's his fucking last name?
I've still never seen those documentaries. I heard the podcast, the interview with her, and I still haven't seen those documentaries.
Dude, I mean, and it's fantastic. And it's like the approach of both of these people was to sit down and have conversations with these people and get them to get them to experience their own ignorance. You know, not tell them that they're ignorant and tell them that they're a piece of shit and tell them that they're a garbage human. And these are people that at that time were arguably garbage people, you know? They were arguably like repellent, vile, like people with horrible ideologies. But these individuals sat down with them. Daryl Davis is the guy's name. Sat down with them and destigmatized the ignorance in their mind and just said, okay, let's try and move the needle on this person's model of the world. And in doing that, many of them were converted away from the harmful ideology that they had subscribed to for so long. You know, like many people everyone is doing the best they can with the information that they have available, with the software that they have. If we can, as a society, you know, update their software, work together to facilitate the updating of that software, we can get these people to abandon these outdated ideologies that don't serve them and don't serve anybody else, and they can't really think of the reason that they have them in the first place. You know?
No, that's the exact opposite of ignorance. I agree. That's winning people over. And, you know, I admire somebody who can change their opinion that much. Like, we've seen how hard it is for somebody to admit that, like, their band they loved in high school is actually shitty. So, you see, like,
or that a band that they hate is good.
Yeah, or a band that they hated was actually good. You see how deeply they have to look within their soul just to say that. If somebody can find within themselves who is like a former Klansmen or something convert themselves, that says a tremendous thing about them, that they were really able to find something really deep and they really possess something that a lot of people don't have.
Right.
And yeah, there were a lot of bands I listened to in high school that were shitty. But like you said, man, we didn't have the internet wasn't quite what it was then. You know, radio only played what news, what I knew. So it was like,
you talk about deep dark secrets, man. I hope we never go there. I just hope we never go
What
there.
Deep dark secret bands that you liked?
Bands like the bands that you really feel an internal sense of deep shame about liking their material.
I'm not really ashamed of any band that I liked unless,
It's a handful. It's a handful, and it exists.
Handful.
It exists.
I'll admit that I saw Limp Bizkit twice as a teenager, but I'd be lying.
Hey, they put on a good show.
If I said I didn't have fun, it was fun. I had a good time. I don't think I'd have as much fun if I saw them today, but at the time, it made sense. It worked. Now, you know.
Did you break stuff?
I didn't really. I don't remember, man. It was a while ago.
Remember before the world fell apart and there was concerts and like they announced Korn and Faith No More, and
That's
just the utter disdain and eye rolling and throat chortling that
I wasn't gonna bring that up, Aaron.
dude.
No, I remember what you're talking about. It was just like, you know, I don't really particularly listen to Korn, but like, why were people so shocked? I'm like, dude, it's a big tour with hard rock acts, and they're a popular hard rock act.
It'll sell, and they're popular. This is another thing too, is like there's a lot of bands, like when I've like hung out with our buddy Jan out in Belgium, like there's bands that he's into out there that he's completely unashamed to like, that like out here like people would give you shit for. Like he likes Slipknot, you know what I mean? And I'm like, you know, and when I first heard that, you know, there's a part of me that's like, ugh, you know, and then I started to rethink that. I'm like, why do I have a problem with that? Yeah. What is the reason?
Let's explore your feelings about Slipknot. Mm-hmm. While we're at it, tell me how you feel about your mother.
Gordo, actually, you know what? You should go as Sigmund Freud for Halloween some year.
Exactly, man.
The bald head and the beard and the glasses, dude, you could pull it off.
Perfect, Silas. Tell me what you think now. Tell me what you think now. I dare you.
Get a little vial with some flour in it or something, just to be real authentic.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yes, I deem you to be a pervert.
Did your mother influence this? Yes, yeah.
Sometimes a cigar is only a cigar. Hey, how about...
Or like George Carlin says, sometimes it's a big brown dick.
Dude, can you just on that point, just as a like little quick aside, can you imagine what George Carlin would be thinking if he was still alive today? Like, can you like? I've thought of that. I'm like, what if George Carlin was alive today? I've also been thinking on a completely different part of the continuum. I've been like, you know, wondering what Martin Luther King's perspective would be today. Like, and again, you know, we're talking about a dead man's perspective, so there's no way of really knowing. But I wonder if he like stepped into a time machine out of the 1950s and dropped down here in 2020, you know, how many of the things he said that people quote would still apply, how many of his perspectives would still be the same, like what his thoughts about, like would he see marginal progress, or would he see like exponential progress? Would he be able to see things?
According to Bill and Ted movies, he's already seen it all.
George Carlin
he stepped into that time machine years ago.
Right, Aaron. Right.
Oh yeah, man, is that third one still going to come out? It's supposed to come out in like September or something, but I don't know. Are they still delaying?
I'm sure they delayed production.
Coronavirus?
Is that what it's called? They changed it. Had to go back and do some reshoots. It was called Bill and Ted Face the Music, but they might have to change some things.
They made do you guys know about the Bill and Ted musical, the horrible Bill and Ted musical that came out and utterly flopped?
Oh no.
I was not aware.
No,
yeah, I want to say it was
about this.
I want to say it was it was at Universal Studios. Hold on, I'm going to look this up real quick. I don't have my Bill and Ted.
Same time as that Spider-Man the musical.
Oh,
oh man,
musical. I did hear a lot about that.
A lot about that one. We lost a lot. Let's take a moment of silence for all those people who were in Spider-Man the musical. That was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
There was a point in like they were just throwing everything against the wall. I think it was like mid 2000s on Broadway. Let's try this, the musical. No, it didn't work. All right, we'll try this one. This one. They're making movies that like there was of everything just didn't work. I don't know.
I saw a really good like kind of guerrilla theater interpretation that was a musical of Evil Dead, and it was just incredible.
I think I heard about that.
I heard it was really good.
It was so good.
So now you guys can't see this, but I've got it on the screen on the stream. So imagine it, Bill and Ted the musical. Think it couldn't happen? Well, it already did. Yes, it's true. There has been a stage musical based on Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Well, sort of. Let us explain. It was in 1992 that Dean Collinson, a singer-songwriter and actor, first saw the Bill and Ted movies and set about to write a musical version of our favorite movies with his writing partners Mick Walsh and Gene Jacobs, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The musical seems to have been staged at least a couple of times, once as a 3-week run during the Edinburgh Festival at the venue The Pleasance in Scotland. The other was a condensed version on May 4th, 2000. Man, that's not that long ago. as part of a program called Musical Futures at the Greenwich Theatre in London. At the Greenwich Theatre, the original cast was comprised of Mark Powell as Bill, Norman Bowman as Ted, da-da-da-da-da.
I could see Norman Bowman making a good Ted.
The presentation was choreographed. Right there. That lets you know that it was pretty horrible if it was choreographed. The Grim Reaper was played by Philip Clayton Smith.
So was this was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? Or was it just Bill and Ted in general? Like all the Bill and Ted canon stuff was let out? Because the Grim Reaper didn't come in until the second one.
What does it say? Soundtrack CD was recorded by Glenn Carter and Dean Collinson and features the creative 80s style music.
The creative 80s style music.
Which is featured in the show. Highlights from the musical book include Don't Surrender, a hauntingly beautiful song about friendship, which Dean would also use in another musical he wrote called Tomorrow Never Knows. At this time, there are no solid plans to stage the musical again. Licensing right.
Oh, we'll see.
Dude, Gordo, see if you can find the actual music from that show, man.
Oh my God.
It sounds like it didn't do too well. Hey, let's give a shout out to the sponsors and let's pivot and let's talk about Jonathan's music and career and
that's right.
And
let's do that.
Check out some stuff.
I almost forgot.
Okay, so first and foremost, Matula Plumbing. Matula! Shit rolls downhill. Right, don't be at the bottom. Your number 2 is our number 1 priority. Your shit is our bread and butter. Angie's List Super Service Award winner back in 2011. 1-1 is the only one that matters. After that, it got all political and, you know. If you need your shit piped out, man, he'll wear the booties for you. If you're in the Des Plaines, Illinois area, hit up Matula, master of poopers himself. Mutiny Information Cafe at 2 South Broadway. Hey, shout out to Mutiny. They've been utilizing their space as a safe space for protesters. So if you are out protesting and you need a safe space, you get into some trouble, Mutiny Information Cafe is a safe space at 2 South Broadway. Also, they have coffee, books, music, live events, podcasts. No one has a larger selection of Torini syrups. No one.
Cereal.
Hey!
Cereal bar.
They've got cereal. They do have a cereal bar. And some very fine people there. And, man, they really support the underground. And they support worthy causes. And
they're walking the walk.
Yeah, they're walking the walk for sure. Check them out, man. Support them any way you can. You can. I believe they're taking. They're taking customers. They obviously allow a limited number of people in the store, but yeah, man. Also, they share a lot of great content. So look them up, follow them on all the social platforms, and go check them out. We love Mutiny, man. Flipside Music.
I was supposed to play there last month.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, we were supposed to play together. But, one of these days we'll play a show.
Yeah.
I think so.
Flipside Music on South Tacoma Street. Since I've started playing a lot more guitar, I've been going to Flipside a lot more. I don't need to follow any copy on this. They're great place. Super helpful, super knowledgeable, really swell bunch of people. They are doing everything that they can to roll with the punches of the pandemic. They do a lot of online business. They're taking customers in the store. They give really great deals. Their little tryout room. It's like all the things you love about being able to try out gear at Guitar Center without all the people at Guitar Center.
Nice.
It's really great. And last I talked to Ike, he said they were going to be turning the lesson rooms into to demo rooms. So basically, people would be able to go in there and demo stuff in a socially distanced capacity. Really, really an incredible shop, man. I can't speak highly enough about them. The only time I've cheated on them is I went to Flesher Hinton to buy some single strings because I broke my high E right after I changed it. So, yeah, man. Flipside Music. Life's short. Make some noise. And God, does it ever seem more apparent that life is short and we got to make some fucking noise while we're here, man.
That's true.
Burn TV Studios. Dude, people are back in the office over here. Like, I came in to do the podcast, and we couldn't use the lights because the lights are actually being used on a project right now. And this piece we're doing for Hempire, this Hemp and History thing, is fucking badass. It looks so good. All the Nug Nation folks have been in here. I had a phone call with Mikey Peterson, who we've had on the show on episode 100. He's just telling me about all the great stuff that's coming down the pike for Burn TV and the Nug Nation. Check it out at burntv.com or thenugnation.com. It's like weed content, but not like annoying weed content. It's like, it's stuff for people who like
Just
weed.
right.
It's just right. It's just right. Rocket Space Rehearsal Studios.
I love them.
Gordo, are they taking people? Like, are they doing rehearsals? Do we know?
I believe they are.
That's
Yeah,
really
last
cool.
I checked, they were, and I think they have their new merch. Like, I think they have that in tow as well.
Cool. Support
And
Rocket
the new
Space.
stuff looks great.
Support the shit out of Rocket Space. They're great people. We love them.
Yes.
Evergroove Studio. Man, you can say so many great things about Evergroove Studio. Brad and Jenny, who own and operate the place, they're just some of the best people they are. It is a beautiful, beautiful spot hidden away in the Black Mountain region of Evergreen. Man, just state of the art. Also, they're doing remote mixing stuff, which is a really cool use of technology. I've actually done an online or a mixing session over the phone with them. Like, got to hear the mixes live while Brad was working on them. Talked to him on Zoom. Really, they're doing everything they can to service the community, even lending us our tech guru Ethan Klein, who's in the other room watching the stream and probably swearing at the screen because it looks like our bit rate is probably not performing at the level that he would want it to. But he has very high standards, and we love Ethan for that. So, yeah, man. Solar powered. It's a solar powered studio. It's fucking awesome. Great rates, great space, great place to make a record. Great. And they were for a while offering pay what you can mastering. I don't know if they're still doing that, but you can hit them up, and I'm sure you can probably get a really good price for it. So Evergroove Studio, we love you. And last but most, we appreciate the shit out of all of you who back us via a small recurrent contribution on patreon.com/mfruckus. You guys make the goddamn world go round, man. You've kept us alive during the pandemic. We've been able to keep moving stuff forward. In fact, I kind of feel like I should show a little clip of, like a little tiny clip of something that we've been working on. So part of what the money has gone to, also big shout out to the people who supported the COVID out of business sale. We did sell a ton of our merch. We actually got all our merch condensed down to one box because we sold so much of it. To people who have been supporting us during the pandemic. We've been investing funds in some new music videos, one of which we've been making along with our friends Jake Fairley and Macy Little, who Jake draws the Front Lines of Good Times comic book, and Macy is the animator that we work with for the Front Lines of Good Times motion comic. I want to see if I can get a little clip of that in here. But while that's loading, I want to give a big shout out to our patrons who are just fucking amazing, awesome, beautiful people and have made it possible for us to do what we do. Okay, hold on. I got it here. All right, so let's turn off the...
Oh, yeah, let's see what you got doing.
Hold on. I'm learning how to use the technology. Dad doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah, so we've got this is just a little example that Macy sent me to like show it. Macy animated all of that from just one of the stills that Jake sent him. It looks so goddamn cool. and I'm so stoked about it. Yeah. So anyway, that is something that we're working on. Anyway, if you're just joining us, we are here with Jonathan Snyder.
Hey, everybody.
From the Lollygags. And
I almost forgot.
By the way, congratulations on the write-up in Westward. For those who haven't seen the write-up, why don't you tell people a little bit about what you guys talked about in the write-up that you did with Westward?
Oh, sat down. Well, I didn't really sit down with him, but sit in that way you say anytime you talk to anybody. Sat down with Kyle Harris. I talked to Kyle Harris of Westward about just what's been going on with me and this EP you put out recently. And not going to lie, I'm not going to say this COVID shutdown was been a good thing, but for me, it's relieved a lot of stress, and I've loved living up to this Lollygags name of just like not really doing a whole heck of a lot. But even before this happened, I was already kind of noticing things were changing as far as gigging out or how this project was gonna go moving forward. So we were kind of already getting prepared to shift gears a little bit or shift the way we were doing things, but also got to talk about releasing the EP. Already planned on putting that out in April around that time anyhow, so that not much changed there. And yeah, it's a 3-song EP called Old New Borrowed. It's because we ended up with one redone older song, Christian Leitner, brand new song, Grand Consolation, which also got a cool lyric video for, and then a cover tune, that's the borrowed one, Affection by Jonathan Richman, a fellow neurotic Jewish Jonathan, so had to pay tribute to him somehow. Jonathan Michael too. We both have the same middle name. I just kept learning more about that guy. So
cool,
wow.
Awesome. It's just a 3-song EP then?
Just a 3-song EP. That's what we got. I think more out of necessity, this band has always ended up putting out just a song here or there, which I think is kind of becoming what we'll be known for. Eventually we'll get another, see how long this thing goes, another full EP or maybe a full length. But yeah, we just kind of went to the studio 2 years ago to do some songs, 2 of which got put out last year on what we called a digital A-side and B-side. Then we're left with these 3, and I realized I was like, well, one's older, one's new, one's borrowed, just like the saying, old, new, borrowed. And consider doing the blue part. I decided to make the album cover cover blue. There was the possibility of a blues song, but I'm just like, man, we don't need another white guy contrived blues song trying to,
Whoa. I take exception to that.
Oh yeah.
Actually, one of the ways, if I'm writing a set list, one of the ways that I'll try to build out the set list is going something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. And so we'll do an old song, we'll do a new song, we'll do a cover song, and then we'll do one of our jammier blues songs where Tony Lee gets to show off and wank off for a little bit. So that's interesting. Yeah.
So, I just wish you were better at shredding.
God,
yeah,
I know.
Man, when
It's got to be
can't have it
embarrassing
all.
when you go out there and you just can't shred.
Oh man,
Dude can't
one
shred.
of these things.
That's a problem he's never had.
No.
No, that guy. I can attest. I've seen that man. I've seen that man shred. Well, the blues, I was thinking about it. At one point, somebody who's in the band, you always have a rotating cast of characters, put up a song that was bluesy-ish. And it was good, but I don't know if I was just being too picky or what. But I was like, had to go, but it's blues traditionally actually fits this format, and people are going to be judging us, and they're going to say that's not a blues. So yeah, we ended up with those 3, and just good to have something out there. I think it's good, kind of reflects the band because we've been through a lot, and there was been around a while, shall I say. And there's a kind of earlier era where not as many people knew about the band. So I think that's what the older song does. And then the brand new one kind of just shows something of, where we're at right now. And then the borrowed tune just shows a very serious influence of the band. I think really, I'm really proud. Put our stamp on that one. You know, I encourage someone go listen to the original version and ours. I think they're a good cover. You should put your interpretation on it, but you should be able to tell it's that song.
Right,
know?
right. No, agreed.
When I hear those, like, when I hear some people cover something and like it's just the same lyrics, I'm just like, you might as well have just given new lyrics and made that a new song.
Right.
So, yeah, I think we've achieved that, and we like to play some covers live, just like you do.
So, not to talk out of school, but when you and I first started communicating about getting you on the show, and we were kind of sending some stuff back and forth, and you had told me a little bit, and this is before. Actually, this was probably around when the shutdown started happening. You had talked about how you were experiencing some of the burnout and some of the what we call on the show the Alaska thoughts, the insidious Alaska thoughts.
Always, man.
For the people who follow our show often, why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of what you were struggling with and what you've transmuted that struggle into.
Yeah, it's weird how this crisis kind of changed about the way I looked at things. It was just kind of hit that point where, like I said earlier, things are going to be different. Things are changing where, like, I was just kind of overplaying shows. Not that I don't like performing. It's just we're not, we've never really been the kind of act. I think part of it is because we've had so many different people coming and going who always has like a huge, draw to come out, and just found doing these shows, which really weren't worth it. I know, like, we're supposed to have this spirit of like, doesn't matter if there's 3 people, you rock them no matter what, which I'd had for a while, but it was really even not starting to feel that when it's like, what are we even practicing for? And, going through more lineup changes, which we'd been through a lot and everything. And I was kind of questioning if it was worth going on for, which is reasonable. But then after this thing hit, it was just kind of like, well, why not? Everybody's shutting down. We were going to put out this music anyway, and this is just kind of a chance to operate and kick back and kind of re-examine things, focus on the craft a little bit more instead of just trying to practice to play in some bar somewhere. So it's the Alaska thoughts. I guess if you're going to be an artist of any kind, they're going to come in. It's something you got to go through. Right. And just realizing I'd wanted to do some other stuff myself, which I still do. I've always been like so much of a songwriter that it's been like always just been like, hey, here's some songs of mine, let's play them. Not so much just like, hey, I'm going to be this member of the band, I'm going to be lead guitarist or something like that. So I'm still seeking out those opportunities and been honing my lead guitarist skills a little bit. So now I feel like I could really hold my own as a member of a band. So I realized I'd never actually just been a member of a band, really, where I've been like, all right, I'm going to do my part, you do yours. I've always been the lollygags, which I think I'll be for a while.
Fun.
It
most fun is to
can
be.
Dude. So this is 3 band dads on the show, and I can tell you're not alone. Being a band dad is really hard. It's really frustrating and isolating and alienating and lonely. And dude, it's hard to get people out to shows. And even though, I believe in the one or 1,000 rule of, you put on the same show, whether there's 1 person there or 1,000 people there, I believe in that. But if you get a streak where you are having trouble getting people out to shows, it fucking sucks and it hurts. And it especially if and I was thinking about this recently, I've been really honing my guitar abilities lately by, doing a bunch of videos and trying to get better at the guitar. And I was thinking about it, I'm like, man, I know all these people that are so good at their instruments and so good at their songwriting craft. Gordo, for one, every time I listen to that new Granny Tweed record, I'm like, this is such a fucking brilliant record. If this was the early 90s, it would have been on fucking Elektra and you would be out touring with.
What are you trying to say?
No, I'm just saying, dude, you would have been out touring in the 1990s. You would have been out touring with Mudhoney or Ween or fucking They Might Be Giants or.
I would take any of that.
Or Archers of Loaf, or
now, then, future.
dude. I mean, just name any band. Gordo, I really do feel this, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, man. Like, I really do feel that your songwriting and your production abilities and your performance abilities are like you deserve to be contemporaries of those artists that you respect so much. And
I appreciate that. I'm humbled by your compliments.
I really do think that. And Jonathan, the same thing goes for you. Is I'm sitting there like learning the guitar, and I'm like, man, like I have a hard enough time being the singy guy and the band leader guy and experiencing stalls and setbacks and feelings like I'm just spinning my wheels or that nobody gives a shit. And I can only imagine if like I was also an accomplished instrumentalist and, the primary songwriter in a band, like going and playing shows for nobody. It fucking hurts and it sucks. And dude,
it does, yeah.
I feel your pain, and it's like, but I don't, even though I think about quitting all the time, I don't want to quit, especially, I mean, the Alaska thoughts have been strong this week, sitting there going like, with everything that's going on in the world, what fucking business do I have making music? It's like I almost don't feel like the world, like it would do any good to bring any joy into the world right now, because it's just
I want to contribute to this world right now.
Right, it's just a vacuous hole of darkness and fucking misadventure and dystopia.
There's something to be said, though. There's something to be said for actually just doing it because you want to do it. Do it because it makes you feel good. Like that's a really good reason to do it. Like that's what I've been focusing on.
Right.
Like I do a live stream every now and then, and my challenge to myself has been trying to make it different every time I do it, and that's fun. Like that's something that I don't actually get a chance to do with a band, is like make every show different. So it's really fun to be able to actually try and do that, see if I can challenge myself.
Right. Well, and it's like
it makes me more excited about doing it, and it makes me, kind of makes me learn something.
Right.
Those are some of the cool opportunities I think that are coming out of this. We're starting to see it's not going to just be about playing shows, and I kind of realize now it never was just about shows. And I think maybe my focus, I would have liked to do a little bit more like Gordo was talking about, and just not, and that's what this has kind of made me realize. Just doing it for you. Stop worrying about the whole, the race of the scene and the politics, which this is. It's not saying I don't miss seeing our friends, but it's like this has shut down all that. There's no, are we getting into this year? Oh man, I got to get this gig. Oh, we got to try it.
God, that is just gone, right?
Gone. And
it's just gone.
So good not to worry about it for a while. It's just like
it feels good to drop out of the race. It really does.
Oh God, it so does. Just like the whole every year I'd go through, this. Oh man, I really want to try and play Levitt Pavilion. Are we going to be able to get? When it's closed, you don't care as much.
Or like, so and so never even replied to my email. It's because it's not because my band sucks, because all the guys in my band are great players. It's because I suck specifically. It's because they hate me specifically and everything I touch, and I'll bet if I wasn't even in this band, my bandmates would have gotten that gig and they would be succeeding because I specifically am terrible and a hack and untalented and garbage. Like, dude.
I'll tell you what, though.
Word for word.
It really helps in these situations to have never fit in anywhere.
Right.
So, because anytime I have those thoughts myself, I can always just say, well, we don't fit in.
Yeah.
We don't, because I know that's the truth. Like, I know that's the truth. Like, we do not fit in. So it, sometimes it bothers me, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I worry about status, but I will say, not having to worry about booking, not having to worry about, your pecking order in the local scene or whatever,
right.
Like not having to worry about any of that stuff like you were mentioning it is a real load off. And I've never had this long not thinking about that stuff, and it's pretty weird,
right?
But
it feels good to give up the war. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it's just, it's not like the war is completely over, because I still have the war with my own bipolarity and depression and doubt and
we all.
yeah, just the struggles of being a human being, and not just any human being, but you know, the creatives tend to be predisposed to neuroticism of some sort, and you know, and I have days, or I should say moments during the day, because it's pretty much, you know, like passing clouds throughout any day, where it's like I feel very excited and optimistic and energized about something, and then very down and low and sad and futile about something, you know. But it's nice. Playing other people's songs has been very rewarding. You know,
I've loved seeing that. You've done some great interpretations. It's made me rediscover a few tunes, and discover some brand new ones too. So yeah, it's really cool.
Well, the whole and Gordo, you talked about doing stuff for just your own reasons and just for your own enjoyment, and that is like a very fun hobby, like a just pure joy project where I'm just sitting there cussing on my porch trying to get through. Dude, I don't know if you saw, but I did that version of Brandy, You're a Fine Girl. I literally did 53 takes of that song.
See, but that's what's cool about it. It's a process. Like, you're learning something.
Right.
Like every time you go to do another song, or you learn how to apply a different effect for your guitar, your voice, or you're learning about production, like, and all of that stuff you're learning about. Like, just think about how much you've learned about producing video content in the past 6 months.
Stuff I would have said, you know, I need to get these things before I can do this thing. It's like, no, well, what do I have?
What do you have? Yeah.
How can I make it work? And then, like, you know, Kyle Harris, or not Kyle Harris. Kyle Harris is the bass player in Reptiles and Samurai. Kyle Jones, the guy who engineered and produced the People vs. White Fudge album, and also mixed Handlebars by the Flowbots, who we worked with. He got really into modular synthesizers some time ago, and I went over to his house, and he had just gotten all this stuff, and he's like, he kind of like thinks for a minute, and he goes, it's kind of like a train set. He's like, you get the train set, and then you're like, you start like building out the track, and you're like, oh, but I need the general store, and then I need the water tower, and I need the da-da-da-da-da. And he's like, so you start adding all these pieces. So during the pandemic, I've just been like adding pieces to the train set and having fun playing with my train set, you know? And
I totally get you, man.
It's cool to see the growth. I mean, you're really growing as an artist, you know?
Well, and a big part of the enjoyment is I'm not focusing on how can I make this song work the best way, you know, how can I, you know, what do I want to say in this song, and da-da-da. I'm just appreciating it. It really is a music appreciation class for me. It's like, how can I really appreciate something that someone else wrote? You know, how can I really dive in and explore and learn to love this piece of art that somebody else made? And, you know, is just more noise on the radio dial to the average listener. But, you know, to me in this moment, like when they wrote and they recorded it, it was like something that sprang from the well of inspiration for them. Like that's been a fun perspective to take on.
Yeah, I just think, as a general rule, it's really good to go from the, go for the reward within. Don't expect the reward from without, you know?
Right.
And like, you're not really let down.
Expectations. I think that can kill you. And that's why it's a good thing to do other things just than shows. Cause you know, if you don't know how a show's going to turn out, you could have promoted your ass off, but then it ends up snowing or something. So it's just like,
or 5 other shows are going on the same night.
5 other shows are going on. A lot of things could happen. I think with that, when you're more just into creating something or just kind of in the idea of learning something cool, there's really no expectation attached to that other than I'm going to learn this or I'm going to come up with something cool, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
See where it goes.
Definitely. Yeah, it's So what, like, are you writing a lot right now?
I'm getting back into it, and I've never written a lot, but starting to change that a little bit, learn a little bit about discipline. Something I learned in my creative process is fuck motivation. It's about discipline.
Right.
Motivation. Motivation comes out of discipline.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely fucking right.
You do it whether you want to or not.
Totally. And it's like I'm always glad that I did it, you know. I've gotten into doing some like sketch comedy writing stuff too, and I have it on my calendar tonight that I'm going to sit down and do some writing for that. And I also now I'll put down like, hey, I'm going to try and do some songwriting too. That's what I found I really need. And it might be a little, you know, you have to force yourself. You got to turn off the Netflix. There's so much good stuff on now and everything or whatever. It's a little tricky, but go up, do that for that designated amount of time, and then whatever comes out of that, you're a little more motivated to go do it again.
Right.
So yeah, I'm thinking of some new song ideas too, but also working just on my skills as a lead guitar player a lot.
Right.
Working on that. I've always been more of kind of a Keith Richards type player. But now I'm trying to get a little bit more of that Tony Iommi-ness, go a little bit faster, you know.
Cool. Very cool.
That sort of thing. So yeah, hopefully put out some new songs or redone old songs next year or something. We're trying to do a stream of some sort. There's talks of doing one, but kind of in the position of putting the band back together again, seeing who's going to be on second guitar for that one. But yeah, this ain't my first rodeo at this point, and it'll all fall together somehow.
Right.
No rush either, you know. We were shooting for July, looking like it might be August. That's fine.
Yeah, that's the other thing is we all have quite a bit of runway right now creatively.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because as much as things seem very catastrophic and apocalyptic, you know, humanity will acclimate, and we will, you know, order will come from the chaos, you know, we've reached a bifurcation point, and we'll reorganize at a higher, better, more functional rate, you know, if thermodynamics have taught us anything. And
Yes.
And so for the time being, you know, things will eventually restabilize in this system we call existence.
Yes.
And when it does, you know, we'll get back to it. We'll do whatever the new version, the new reality is of what we do, whatever the new normal is of how we do what we do. But for the time being, we've got a ton of runway to kind of rediscover who we are and fall back in love with the art form and get our chops up, you know.
I'm loving it, yeah.
Like we've talked about the last few episodes. Like everybody's woodshedding right now, and you know, that people are starting to organize live streams in venues, which is cool. By the way, shout out to the Oriental Theater and Seventh Circle Music Collective. They're going to be hosting a series of streams back and forth where all the proceeds are going to go to benefit independent venues. And I don't know if you saw the Oriental Theater's post today, but big shout out to them. I actually spoke to Andy Burkaw today. We had a nice conversation. I love that dude very much. But they were gathering exclusive content from artists to release to people in support of some of the independent venues around, and they decided to hold back on releasing that stuff because now it's just not the time to be like putting out good time music videos or asking people to support, you know, to support that specific cause, because there's one cause that needs our attention right now, and that is the cause of the
fellow humans
of humans, of being better human beings.
Human beings, better Americans, better people.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the focus right now. But I did provide. I used my video setup, and I said some words about the Oriental Theater and what a great place it's been to us, and played a previously unreleased new Ruckus song that's an original composition that I wrote. I say composition, but it's like a 3-chord. It's a 3-chord pop song that I wrote.
It's song.
It's a song. Yeah, composition. It's an original composition.
How many movements does this composition have?
Well, I did drink some coffee, so I had 1 or 2 movements during the recording process.
You can hear it in the composition.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So you actually sent us over some stuff.
I did.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put your lyric video for Grand Consolation. I'm going to put that up on the screen, and we're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna play that for some people, and then we'll come back after the video, and we'll have some final thoughts. But this is anything you want to say about the video we're gonna play before I put it on. And by the way, we have not done this yet where we've shared content, so I hope that it works.
First. Oh, wow.
Yeah, you're gonna be the first. But is there anything that you want to say about the video before we get it going?
Yes, it's a collaboration with my friend Mark Steckel, who I met at my former job. He's a motion graphics guy. Turns out he's also a big music nut too. And I kind of first turned him on to lyric videos, and he thought it was really cool. So yeah, we've still been in touch, and he worked on that for us. And yeah, the song Grand Consolation, I think. More the COVID times, not the current other crisis we're in, but it's a song for really fitting that. It's about things that can kind of admitting things that are out of your control, but focusing on those battles in our lives that we can win. As I say, the war might be lost, but we'll win battles along the way.
Cool. Awesome. Well, and this is, I wonder how this is, hold on. Let's see how
it goes here.
Let's see how to position this properly. We'll see if it's actually in the right. There it is. I got it. I figured it out. I did a thing.
Woo-hoo!
Okay.
All right.
So
Enjoy, people.
This is Grand Consolation by the Lollygags on the motherfucking podcast.
Woo-hoo. Over 2 hours, man. We got a lot off our chests.
Yeah.
A lot went on. It was fun. Good to catch up with you guys, man. I have not gotten to talk to many people.
Yeah, likewise. Like, this is pretty much my outlet for the world at large.
Seriously. I think I will. I think I will go for a drive. I just want to get out. I want to kind of survey the land. I'm not going to try and cause any trouble down there or anything, but yeah, I might drive by the state capitol to see what's going on here a little bit. I live take 10 minutes if that,
Yeah.
What's up? But no curfew tonight. So.
Oh, there's no curfew tonight.
I don't think there is. I think it was just Saturday and Sunday, but.
I guess we'll find out soon enough. It'll come across our phones.
Oh, yeah, exactly. No, I don't have any kind of warning here. But the last time I had a little curfew was in. They used to have, or they still got it, I think. This when you're like under 18. There's this law apparently you can't be out in Denver or Colorado past midnight. Do you remember that, Aaron? The curfew law in Denver when we were kids? Like when you were a teenager, you couldn't be out past midnight or something on Saturdays or something like that.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Curfew ticket. I ran from a few curfew tickets.
Yeah.
I was lucky. I hopped a few fences, but that thing. But I was saying that's the last time I've had any kind of legal curfew.
Yeah, we've been continuing to work during the curfew, so we've been shutting down at 8 o'clock and ceasing to take orders, and we still get people who call right at 8 o'clock, and they're like, and we're like, yeah, sorry, we're closing out early for the curfew, and they're like, oh, so there's no way. It's like, no, dude, it's a citywide curfew. We can't get you chicken wings.
No possible way. You should I know, fuck with those people. They're like, 1 second, do you remember? Call them back in 10 minutes. Be like, all right, we just talked to Polis. He's gonna go sign an executive order. He's getting back there. There is a way.
It does seem like it seems like Trump just declared war on the American people in his press conference.
In a new one?
Received a new like notification. Like, just people are just really going apeshit about this. I don't know what he said. I have no idea what's going on, but that should be interesting to process and digest, along with the rest of his file.
Dude, that was a really cool lyric video, man.
Oh, thank you. Those are a lot of fun, man. People are doing some really cool stuff with those nowadays, and they're easy to get out because I don't want to say easy because it depends on how you make it, but as easy as far as you don't have to have all the band members present. There's no scheduling involved, really.
Right.
Something you can really just sort of take your time on.
No, I've been thinking of doing one. I've been thinking of doing one because when I talked to the label and we released the motion comic, our label head in Germany, he was like, people like music videos, or worst case, or a live video, or worst case scenario, a lyric video, but
worst case.
But nobody knows what to think about a 20-minute motion comic where your music is like barely in it, like, yeah.
Follow the story, man. That's what.
Like, are you on board with the vision or not, man?
Let's take a look and see. Let's take a look and see what was said here.
People talking.
Hold on. Let's
see. I think I got one little clip.
What happened while we were in here?
Oh yeah, we got to put breaking news up there, right?
Yeah, really.
Oh my God.
Crimes against God. That's what? That's what he called the protests?
Oh God. All right, let's see here.
What is he holding? Is he holding a Bible?
So I've got his Twitter feed up on here.
Don't understand.
I will be delivering brief remarks from the Rose Garden at 6:30 p.m. to update on the federal response. Have you found what people are talking about yet, Gordo?
Yeah,
is it the live thing that he said?
He calls protest crimes against God.
Yeah, like I just saw like a few tweets. It's like, what just happened? And then like somebody said, did the president just declare war on the American citizens? Like,
oh,
so
man.
I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not finding it.
Well, let's not amplify that dickhead signal anymore.
Yeah, it's not important.
Let's talk about Jonathan's art.
Thank you. Yes. Important. Finally.
That's
glad you guys get it.
No, I mean it's a great song. It's it's a great message, and the lyric video looks slick as hell. What kind of response have you gotten on it?
For the people who have seen it, they've all really liked it. Like, it's gotten attached to all the articles and everything that it's been a part of, and people really seem to be identifying with the song, just what a lot of folks have been going through, particularly from our generation. But yeah, the lyric video looks great. That's just what you get when you have a lot of that kind of professional experience that my friend Mark has.
And who is he? I want to give him a shout out so people can look him up.
Yeah, his name's Mark Steckel, and I will hit him up. He killer guitar player too, huge rocker, big time rocker. He and I met when I worked for our old job. We worked for a company that put advertisements on movie screens. God, they're doing nothing now. So that's they're done. But yeah, different time for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, we met then. Realized we're both big rock fans. Stayed in touch. He actually did another lyric video for us for the song "It's Up to Me," which you can also find on our YouTube channel. It was off the EP from a few years ago. But yeah, that dude's really good, and just I think it's testament to the power of networking. That's something I've always loved about jobs. About when you start and you find out who the rockers are,
right?
Everybody's got to be there. One day you're strolling by somebody's cube and you're just like, wait a sec, is that a Jane's Addiction poster I see? And then next thing you know, turns out that's how you make your friends and everything. So yeah, got to kind of show the flag, the rocker flag in the office place.
Sarah and I were talking about shirt spotting today.
Oh, nice.
Because she and her brother is Richie from Speed Wolf and Axe Slasher, and they were talking about how one of their favorite pastimes as siblings is T-shirt spotting. Like, you know, when you go driving by somebody and you see they got a cool T-shirt on, it's like, oh, check it out, Paul Bearer shirt. Oh, check it out, Iron Maiden shirt. Oh, check it out. Da 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 da. You know, like
that's. Oh, when you connect with that, I mean, like I remember. I had this job where like I was a transcriber a long time ago, transcriber for reality TV shows. There's one producer I always just kind of walk by in the hall and say, hey. And then one day I wear my Jesus and Mary Chain shirt and he just stops. He's like, hell yeah, great album. And that's how we became friends. It's just like, I don't know, it's absolutely true. I hope those rock shirts are a thing. When I wore my my Dead Milkmen, my Chris Sherry Dead Milkmen shirt, which I know Josh Finley's got one of the hoodies that I wore that to the Great American Beer Festival. Not even thinking, I just threw it on. And I'm not kidding. I must have got stopped like 15 times for people to give me high fives or take a picture.
Well, Dead Milkmen fans are a special breed, and there's very few of us. So when we see someone else, we're like, dude, awesome shirt.
I got a free drink, and unfortunately, I just went for the soda because I was not feeling like drinking. But on a Southwest flight, I wore it on, and like the flight attendant, he just stops and looks, and his jaw drops. He's like, "Oh my God, the Dead Milkman!" And he points out. I see him pointing out. He's like, "This guy gets a free drink." I'm like, wow, okay.
Dude, I
used to be wearing a shirt like that. People would you wouldn't know what would happen.
Dude, always wear your cool band shirts, man. I have given discounts and free drinks to countless people who are just wearing shirts of bands I like. Now, they've got to deal with the fact that I'm going to come over and talk their fucking ear off after the fact.
Yeah.
Like if anybody comes in wearing a Ween shirt or a Faith No More shirt or God, what are a couple of the other ones or an Iron Maiden shirt? If somebody's ever been wearing an Iron Maiden shirt, like I'll talk fucking Maiden with people all night. Did you go to this show? Did you go to this show? Oh my God, they were so amazing. Remember when this happened? Dude, those are some of the best bonds that you build with people, man.
That's how I connect. And I think now, that's funny, bring it up. Now it's more important than ever that we do that, just because as people are kind of getting disconnected, and we'll be back out there walking around doing social stuff eventually. But just to make sure, keep this rock thing alive with music changing and all that, keep the enthusiasm going. That's the big thing, the enthusiasm gap that I think we got to keep that huge if we to keep this thing going.
It's going to really make me appreciate communal expressions of joy a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, I've been really bad about shows throughout my life. I've been really, like, when I was super young, I was a drunk and a half, and I was either fucking around in the parking lot or at the show wasted, and I don't remember half the shows I went to. And then as an adult, I've been really bad about attendance, especially supporting local shows, and I can own up to that I've been really bad about that. And what this has really made me do is go, and not only that, like, the events of the last year have been really shitty. Like, and, like, whether it's funerals or just not being able to go to anything at all, or, having some sort of, or, in a lot of people's cases, having to go and protest the murder of an innocent man. I don't think anybody is thrilled to be doing that. It's something that they feel duty bound to do. So like when we see some things rolling in the right direction and we see some things starting to break through with the pandemic, I'm really going to be looking forward to communal rituals of joy, like going to shows, going to weddings. Like I'm really excited about the possibility of going to a wedding or going to a water park or going to, like,
The other night, my wife mentioned like a bonfire, and I was like, a bonfire?
Doesn't that sound fun?
Yeah.
I was like,
When's the last time
I
you just gotta primally stare into the flame? That sounds so
I
great.
can't recall that I've ever like actively wished for a bonfire, but man, it sure sounds
It sounds
fucking
so
great
good.
right
A
now.
barbecue sounds so good.
Oh, dude.
That'd be
Like
incredible.
like a barbecue, a shitty local show. Like just
Any local show.
any
Yeah,
local
anything.
show, any show. Going to the
Any show.
movies. Going to the
Oh,
movies
yeah.
sounds amazing.
I mean, we were already missing, and I wonder what's gonna be like that sense of like laughing with a bunch of people in a movie theater.
God, I
This
want to
is
go to a
such great-
comedy show.
Oh yeah.
You know, I want to go to like Comedy Works and see a fucking like a headliner that I love, or even a headliner that I mildly like, you know, and just going and laughing with people in a room. I can't fucking wait to do that, man.
Well, if things go according to plan, it looks like the Oriental is still counting on having Doug Stanhope back.
Are they?
Good Lord, that guy! Oh man,
That'd be great.
We need to hear from that guy.
That'd be great. I haven't seen his new special yet. I heard it was really good. I also haven't gotten around to seeing the new Patton Oswalt special yet. I heard that is really good.
It's pretty good.
Is
Need
it,
to
dude?
watch that.
So he was on Skype on Joe Rogan, and they had a conversation, and I don't know if it was in the thing, but he was hinting at some of his, bits during the conversation, because the thing is called "I Love Everything." That's what it's called, right? And does he make mention in the special about how he just he doesn't hate anything anymore, and he tries not to get plugged in, like he enjoys, like, for example, he enjoys his hatred for Trump like a fine wine. Like he, he's like, I have a sip now and then, at dinner, and then that's all I allow myself to have, And he actually said something that, and this popped into my mind because it's very relevant to the things we were talking about like destigmatizing ignorance and trying to understand how horrible things happen. Like, so what? I've argued with people who support the death penalty. And my main argument against the death penalty is that those people can still provide a service. And that is that we can learn how they became the people that they are. Like how monsters become monsters, you know what I mean? And Patton Oswalt talked about this, and he talked about it with relationship to Trump. And he said, Trump is a monster, but he grew up in a monster factory. And Patton Oswalt goes on to talk about, he's like, and what I know from his upbringing, the research that I've done from him, he had a lifetime of systematic abuse and trauma and all kinds of crazy shit. And it's like, of course he turned out the way he did because of the environment in which he grew up and the conditions that made him who he is. And whether or not he meant that to be highly profound, it really was for me, because I began thinking about, there are people that aggravate us and that we don't like and that do things that we find to be inhuman, but just destroying it and refusing to look at it without considering the conditions that form the how of who that person is doing ourselves a disservice. And I really hope that through everything that everyone is going through, we apply to this situation with these fucking cops and with our president the same kind of curiosity that we would want to apply to this virus that is killing people, which is we want to study it and view it with curiosity and view it with a desire for understanding so that we can prevent something like this from infecting us again. Does that make sense, or am I totally off my rocker?
That makes perfect sense. That's the best thing you can do with that. I mean, that's the Mindhunter strategy.
I was totally thinking about Mindhunter when I was talking about that too.
And back then, when people first start, I mean, I know that show is kind of slightly made up, but when people started looking at that, they're like, why are you talking to these people? And it's like, well, we want to learn so like we could spot the next one. But yeah, I mean,
Well, it's historical fiction. We'll call it historical
Yeah.
fiction.
We'll call it that. But yeah, that was around the the time when people started looking at that. But yeah, if there's anything to look at this, let's learn about the symptoms which brought on something like Trump, or which could bring on the rioting and just powder keg that we've seen this country and our city become. Absolutely study it. And,
Well, and what creates hatred at that kind of level? What creates violence at that kind of level? What is happening to people in their life that shapes them into being able to commit such a horrendous act on another human being? I would want to understand that. I want to study it like a disease. I want to see fucking social oncologists working round the clock to solve that problem.
Social oncology. I like that. That's a new field.
Yeah, new field.
New field to pursue.
Well, hey, with that, why don't we say we had a good podcast, guys?
I think we had a great podcast, man. It's a great conversation. Felt really good talking to you guys. I hope it was good for people listening, just because there's obviously been a lot on our chests and just a lot to say. And so, felt good to get it out and just be social again, too, because we're getting back into that. I'm really realizing I've gotten a lot of relaxing done, and all this good stuff we said is true. But yeah, I'm realizing, though, also the effects of not getting out and just, being in contact with people, talking to folks like this.
Well, and you and I really haven't had a ton of a chance to really talk a lot. Like we generally run into each other at shows, and I mention this all the time, but that's what I love about doing this show. Even though on my worst days I feel like it's a fucking a waste of time and a futile errand. It's after I come and do it and have the discipline to come and do it.
Discipline, man.
It's like you sit down and you have a conversation with someone and it goes really well, and you get to talk through some things, and it feels good. It's therapeutic. Everyone should start a podcast, or at least, get together and have a Skype meetup or a Zoom meetup with your friends, man.
Yeah, it's worth it. Have some human contact. Have some positive human contact with each other.
We need it now more than ever. We really do.
Comments and likes aren't the same thing. Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all.
Not at all.
Like, dude, I feel, just talking to you guys, I feel like a soothing balm has been applied to a horrible wound. It's still bleeding and needs medical attention and needs to be stitched up, but
we're all bleeding together.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and the bleeding doesn't feel as terrifying as it did 2 hours ago.
No.
So
I feel the same way. Well, we'll have to do it again, and hopefully next time we talk, we'll have some happier circumstances and a different climate,
would love to.
We can actually all be in the same room.
Yeah,
together.
oh yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
You guys
You don't even think in terms of that anymore. It's like, what?
Right. Well, I look forward to being in the same room as you guys. I look forward to seeing more stuff come out of your big, smart, talented brains. And also, I took a hit of the vape pen, and so I completely wiped my brain clean and lost my train of thought. No, I look forward to being in the same room with you guys. I really do, and I would love to have you back on the show, Jonathan. It's been great having you on.
Let's make it happen. Well, let's all be in touch a lot more, and we will do this or something else again soon.
Yeah, let's definitely do it. Everybody out there watching, listening, we love you. Take care of each other. And in case you don't know, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. No justice, no peace, man. Come on. Let's